Alright, I wanted to make a video talking about salvage. I ended up ranting a lot in the last shoot, so let's try it again with less ranting. Because there's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly, and there's a lot more ugly than good and bad. So I did want to note really quick this contract. So if you are in the Area 18, you need to go to our corp, not Area 18, sorry. I mean, it is near Area 18, but you need to go to our corp. And then if you want to go to search, under search, you should be able to see a mission called failed negotiations. And so this will actually give you access to a reclaimer that you can salvage. So I did get a crime stat, as you see down here, because it used to be when you got this reclaimer, it would be powered on, so you'd have to go to get in it and turn off the power and stuff like that so you could salvage it. Well, now it comes into the game with power off. So it's already kind of prepped for salvage, so I just kind of thought to myself, oh, I don't need to worry about it. Let's just go and break it down. Well, that didn't go well. Clearly, I got 2 crime stats. So I would recommend getting out of your ship, going over to the reclaimer if you're going to use it, and sit in the seat, powered on, powered off, and that way it kind of like gets assigned to you, right? So it's a bit of a crime stat bug. Because whenever you find a derelict ship like this, it's kind of ridiculous that it's going to have a crime stat associated with it. Because, this is a failed negotiation, the captain's dead, all that kinds of stuff. So, I mean, this is meant to be like an FPS mission, not a salvaging mission. But as we get into some of the bad, right now the salvaging claims are horrendous. And so this is a good alternative if you don't necessarily do one of the cleanup missions. So if you don't want to wait for a hammerhead cleanup mission, I think, obviously now that this is getting out, it's going to be talked about more. And so yeah, the good. With the good, and so yeah, so just you can get in the seat of this thing. You can bring a Voltri here if you want to scrape it down. I tried scraping, and that was where I got a little bit like triggered is probably the best word to put for it, but I couldn't even scrape. Like my reclaimer is so busted up, and I've enjoyed going out in the Vulture more because my reclaimer is such a mess right now. For whatever reason, I have 4 reclaimers, and all of them, when I try to do either this mission or sometimes even others, if I bring them out, their scrapers aren't working. So I don't know what's up with that. It could be because I decided to change the scrapers, but if I do go back to the trawler scrapers, same thing. They don't appear to work. So that's going to the bad. I did want to start with the good, but let's start with some of the other good. The good is that well, it's not good at all, but some of the good is I appreciate that they changed the boxes. I like the new boxes that they have for construction and recycling. I would be cool to see if they change one of the two to like maybe a different color. I don't think they have to change the way it looks like, but it would be cool to just change it to a different color or something. Like maybe like recycling being green or something, right? Maybe that's too stereotypical, but I think it'd be a cool change. The reclaimer, there is a pro with it. I do like that they put the lift in there, so I appreciate that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's mostly, and then I do appreciate overall the changes to salvaging. This is going to be mixed reviews, right? Some people agree, some won't. But the idea of changing it so that you can, you're kind of forced to have to do the scraping, I think that's a good change. How they do that, making it, originally I thought it'd be interesting if you have to scrape a certain amount before you can use the fracking. That would be interesting, but making the construction rail less, worth less money is a good alternative, I guess, to force people generally to decide if they want to just frack it outright. Because you're still going to get income if you're not paying for the ship. Like in this case, I didn't have to pay for this claim. You actually get money if you complete the mission. Do you lose access to the ship? I mean, so should you do the mission and get the money and then still salvage it? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's right. That would be a better idea. For me, I'm not interested in doing the mission. I just want the salvage materials. So yeah, it's one of those things that's interesting to see that change. I think it's a more or less positive change. Maybe the way they went about it with the claims being so expensive. So let's go with the first bad. And I want to talk about hand salvage as well. I wanted to start from the bottom to the top, but let's just talk about the salvage claims. They're really bad. So I need more data on this. If I take a look at the salvage right now, for a few seconds ago, if I looked at salvage, there was a Cuddy Black. Here. So you have a Redeemer and a 400i. So when I was first looking here, this is a constellation, so that might be worthwhile. When I was first looking here, there was a 50,000 for a Cuddy Black. And honestly, I don't know if even the Cuddy Black has enough salvage materials to make that up. And what I mean by that is like when I do the salvage claim, like the when I was showing in my video, the cleanup mission that involved the Cuddy Black, or at least I was testing it out, right? It only made me like I got like 6 SUs or something like that of RMC. That's not 50,000. So between that and breaking it down, it just wasn't enough money at all. So it definitely was. That's going to be a big con, and so it's going to be pretty ship dependent. They know they like, oh, this is a large ship, but not all large ships are the same when it comes to actually getting the salvage material. I would love to see the numbers on that, like what actually gives. Nice. Well, so because I tried that scraping, it shows there's 0.001 or something like that, because I tried scraping that hole of that reclaimer, and it wasn't going up, but I guess it gave me 0.001 recycling material, just enough to mess up my buffer. Appreciate it. Thanks, CIG. Love it. So yeah, the different sizes of the ships, what we really need number-wise, and gosh, it would take a long time to build out a spreadsheet or something. I love spreadsheets, clearly. I mean, I love them, but I like to see the data, and it would take me a while to do this, but essentially, we would need to scrape a number of ships and then come up with a good average for RMC. Construction material, I think, would be a little easier because you have to do it anyways, but we would need people to start gathering and like, hey, I did, you know, the anvil arrow, and I got X amount of RMC out of it. And I think some people have already sold like 3 or 4 boxes, which is crazy to think for 5K, that makes the Cutter Black look like a terrible. Like that just shows how bad the Cutter Black might be. And maybe something was off, right? And the different salvage missions do have, I totally messed this up, but that's okay. This is the part I was talking about the good, right? Like I like that they put these kind of like arms in here. Now the lift I think still doesn't work, but it's pretty cool that they fixed it at least a little bit, like visually. But yeah, all in all, we need to know more data-wise about how much RMC each ship is worth. And so they have that data. I mean, they should be able to share that data with us. I would appreciate that, so that we can get a better idea and a better handle on how to decide where to spend the money on that kind of stuff. But right now, you can see with the salvage claims, I think most of the ships are either barely worth it or in some cases legitimately not worth it, which is really unfortunate. Also, you may notice with salvaging, some of these boxes are going to be lockable. What's happening there is if you're pressing B, it changes the mode. So I went from, you can see tractor and then detaching. The tractor beam mode, oh. Interesting. Somehow I was able to change the fire mode. Maybe I have to press, no. It was trying to make me transversal mode. I don't know how I made it go. It was B. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I pressed B like while shooting it. So now you can see that the blueness is gone. So if you ever think, like I mentioned this in the Vulture review, that it's messed up, that's not necessarily the case. You know, when you're out there salvaging, it's you've pressed B and you change from the regular tractor detachable mode to transversal mode. So now if I press R, you can see, oh, it's still on tractor. Interesting. But yeah, you can use B to kind of, I'm still not quite sure what's going on with that, but you can use B and that will change it. I actually kind of like that in Reclaimer because it allows me to put 4 boxes here instead of, well, now I can't touch that. That's what it was. I can't touch that anymore because it's locked in. But anyways, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes I don't want things locked to the grid. Sometimes I want to just play around without having to deal with the grid. And other times it's nice to have with the Vulture, you know, you got a lot of boxes back there, there's a lot less space, but in the Reclaimer, sometimes I like not having to worry about the grid. Anyways, yeah, so the salvaging claims, terrible. Generally speaking, you're going to need to focus on, you know, again, I kind of mentioned it's a little cheesy, but you can try to do like a bounty hunting mission. You could try to do some bounty hunting and understand where the ships are spawning, so you can try to go out there with your Vulture. That's going to be fairly risky, given that obviously in some cases there could be ships that spawn there and kill you. I mean, even in the cleanup mission, there's ships that can spawn. It just is what it is. So yeah, the salvaging. So what needs to change with the salvaging claims is it needs to be a rep base, much like the bounty hunting in general. You need to be able to change that to a rep-based system where you can get an increase in opportunity. So there needs to be a reward with that cost, and what that reward should be is generally just getting not only better rewards, but also having the opportunity to get better missions. So yeah, that's generally the guidance I think that would be really helpful, is if again we can work towards something and gain some kind of benefit out of. Now I know this is kind of complaining after. It's not really meant to be complaining. Again, it's like constructive feedback for a future state. Much like mining, from my understanding, mining was really good there for a while. Just like most of the gameplay loops, where they wanted people to test them out, and then once it goes to live state and it needs to get nerfed, it'll get too nerfed. Well, this is where we're at with salvaging. It's been too nerfed, so it needs to be retuned. And so I don't know if people just aren't, like, CIG isn't have people that really are paying attention or in tune with or understand the gameplay loop, but it's definitely been overtuned in the wrong way. So I think of it akin to Eric Cartman with the whole, he likes to be I like to be wined and dined before somebody takes me out to, takes me down for business, or gets to the business, if you will. In this case, it's giving me the business. But yeah, it's just a mess that salvaging has been really hit pretty hard with the nerf bat, and it's gone the other way in a very negative way. So hand salvage. This is another example where I would like to see a gameplay loop where you can get into the game and start out salvaging without, just like you can kind of do hand mining. It would be much better to see people be able to take on salvaging without necessarily needing the ship, and I think hand salvaging does that. However, currently, in the current state of hand salvage, it doesn't work. Like, you can salvage with it, you can scrape with it, but you can't actually, and I don't think you should have to get construction material. I don't think you should have to break a ship down with a small gun. It'd be cool to have maybe a little, kind of like a rock equivalent, but maybe like a little ship that, like the little personnel transports, but like a salvaging version of that, where you have to bring kind of maybe another ship with some boxes in it for your salvage. But all in all, hand salvage is just not usable, and I'd like to see a state where people can start out salvaging with just a hand salvaging, and maybe take the andil or something like that, right? Maybe it's 1,000. Ideally, it's less than that. It's maybe 500 for that particular mission. Oops. And you go out somewhere and you start scraping, and you can make enough income eventually to work your way up to a vulture. So that would be much better than the current state of hand salvage, which is just you can scrape to get the material, and then you can repair with it, but you can't actually sell that material. So I would much rather see, and I'd like to be able to make a guide at some point from salvage from A to B, which is you're going to start by hand. You might work your way up to a smaller personal sized salvaging, not really a salvaging vehicle, but a salvaging unit, and then working your way up to maybe a vulture. And maybe the vulture needs two types of vultures. Maybe there'd be an A and a B, one without the depot that's cheaper, and one with the depot. That's the current state. I don't know, just some options like that. Plates. So that the big thing right now is plates is really important. So I do have a little bit of the guidance on my guide about that, but I think Macedon has a much better rundown of that. Like, I had to keep a small portion of that. I wasn't able to spend a whole lot of time in it, but because right now scanning is really muffed up. Like, scanning is just terrible. So they have changed the way scanning works, and so it's caused it to not work properly. And so you really, you need to slow down once you see potential target. So anything that's in the thousands, 2,000 or higher, it's divisible by 2,000, and doesn't include any tens or ones in the way of the numbers. Then you need to go ahead and make your way to that particular scan target, but you don't want to overshoot it. And when you get close, you need to slow down, and then really you're gonna have to use your eyes. You're gonna have to. So hopefully you have fairly high definition, because you're going to keep scanning, but then you're kind of looking around. I did note, it seemed like when I did the scan, the 3 plates maybe didn't show up properly. So they didn't show up in the scan. That kind of made them stand out for me. But yeah, you just have to look for a cluster of 3. That's what's going to be key, because usually all the asteroids and stuff are a little bit spread apart. These cluster of 3 or 4 plates, because they're kind of going to be plate pieces, you're really looking for a cluster of 3, but like I said, there could be like a 4th kind of really small piece. You're just looking for all of those to be pretty close together, unusually close compared to all the other asteroids and stuff that have fairly good spacing. But yeah, they're hard to, like I said, that's the con, because it's hard to see all of those little pieces, unfortunately. Interesting. Oh yeah, so it's 239.99. So yeah, I did notice, I already mentioned as well, my scraper head, so my reclaimer is pretty busted, all of them. I do have a couple, I've got 4 of them, and so none of them can scrape sometimes, like some of the missions, like if I try to do this reclaimer, you can't scrape it. I couldn't even scrape my own reclaimer. Maybe that's a check on making sure that I don't steal my own SEUs. There is some way, there is a check on that, and so it could be something that's being done to prevent you. So, because another way to make money in salvaging is you can actually, I mean, I had luck with it. I brought my, because I thought my reclaimer was just busted, so I left this reclaimer out here and I backspace myself, and then brought another reclaimer out here. So I had 3 reclaimers out here. I had the reclaimer initially from the mission. I had one of my reclaimers out here, and I brought a second one out. And then I just ended up breaking them all down with construction material because none of them could scrape. So it wasn't working properly. So yeah, definitely frustrating. I don't know what's going on with that. I did get to show in the other video, but I didn't show here. Maybe I'll bring that in. I'll probably edit that in. I'll point out, but if I look here, so my claw is off, right? I look over to the left. I need to power it on. All right. Well, where is my claw? Well, I'll press M. Well, it says need power. Well, I already powered it on, so why isn't it going out? Because it didn't truly. Now, I think this goes along with the same problem this had before. So that's how I usually go about fixing this bug, is because if I'd looked over to the left, it would have said power off. So you do need to power it on first, press M, tell it doesn't have power, and then look on the left and you can still power it on. So yeah, it kind of saves you a little bit of time and a little headache. But yeah, having to do those kinds of fixes is a bit frustrating. All in all, I think salvage is in a rough spot. I don't know, I say that, but I do like to have to go look for the panels. It would be much better to have like ships in the verse. Again, right now, what I was going to mention is there isn't enough, the verse doesn't have enough ships and people in order to have just derelict ships throughout the verse, but that would be cool. It'd be so cool to see a ship out in the middle of an asteroid belt that isn't a salvage claim. Maybe a small one, maybe one that's not even, like, maybe put one of the little personnel with MPVs, or I don't remember what they call those little ships, but the little personnel carriers, put those out there. Like, it doesn't need to be a big ship. Just put little ships out there that, you know, someone can go, oh, well, there's a ship out there, let's salvage that up. That would be cool. I mean, it's not a requirement, right? But it would be cool to see something like that. Yeah, I just think that the salvaging spot, I had more thoughts and feelings about it, but I wanted to keep it, you know, contained within just a few minutes and just kind of discuss, like, what's going on. And I think, in general, it's not really good. It's not conducive to being a really good spot. It's more of a ladder. It's really more of a bad spot. I'd like to see some changes again. We don't need to revert it back to making a bunch of money like it was before. That's not what I'm asking for. What I'm really looking for is better refinement and more attention to the details of it. So we'd like to see salvage claims that are better priced based upon the RMC of the actual ship. So we would need numbers on that. I mean, I'd be willing to help. If they want to share the RMC numbers, I can try to help set up what the cost should be for the salvage claims, or, you know, I'm sure the community in general would be happy doing that. There probably needs to be a rep system associated with that, not like a, as far as I can tell, and I don't know if I will be able to tell because I don't plan on spending more money on these. I don't think there is a rep system associated with salvaging, but again, I don't plan on buying enough salvaging claims to find out, because there's no use. It's too expensive right now. And so being able to have reps where you can say, hey, you're going to maybe spend more up front. Again, that's kind of hard for new players. I'd rather see ships that are not available initially, certain types of ships. Maybe work your way up to like a C2. That would be much more a pleasant experience and fun and engaging, to be like, hey, I'm going to work with so-and-so, maybe the certain system or something, to get unlock certain kinds of ships to salvage. That would be much better than just like, hey, here's a really expensive ship that's barely worth the RMC that you actually would get out of it. So I just don't find that being conducive to good, fun gameplay. Hand salvaging, definitely want to see that made better, made as an option for people to actually, I'm doing terrible at this, by the way, while I'm doing this, but I'd like to see hand salvaging. I'd like to be able to make a guide one day where I can say salvaging, you know, from salvage level 1 to salvage level 3 or whatever. Or you have to kind of make up your own levels, right? But I'd like to see a day where it's like salvaging, leveling it up, right? Or you know, making it your profession, and it starts out with, you know, try scraping initially with the with just a hand scraper. I don't think I brought the gun out with me. Is it Cambino? I don't remember what it's called, because I only used it just a few times just to test it out to see if it could be used for new players. And it's expensive, first of all, but second of all, it doesn't work properly. It's just for fixing right now, and that's not what we need it for. We don't need it for, I mean, we do need it for fixing too, but it would be much better to be able to sell those canisters as well, to make money, to be, you know, a lower level salvager. Yeah, I think building upon the plates would be cool. I'd like to see more of that, but I kind of like the plates. I mean, being able to go look for them. They just need to fix scanning. Scanning needs to be fixed in a way to make the plates more obtainable. Excuse me. And then of course just fixing the ship's problems. So there's the vulture ladder issue. Not being able to get on the ladder is super restrictive to the vultures. It's really painful for the vultures because they basically, once they fill their salvage hold, and their cargo area, if they can only get out at a planet where they can sell something, sell that same stuff. Otherwise, they can't get back in because they can't go through the back that's full of stuff. Um, yeah, I think that's the greater part of it. And I've repeated a lot, I'll say some, but a lot of the same stuff. I did want to share this mission with people. Unfortunately, I make it more popular and more people will use it, but that's fun of the game, right? Like, it's possible there's still a mission for the 890 out near Microtech. That would be good to be able to salvage that. But at this point, we're stuck having to cut into other people's. I mean, if there was an Idris or something, even if I could just scrape it, I would do that. I mean, I'm cutting into other gameplay just because the salvaging mission is just so bad. So it makes it harder for other people. So people can say, hey, the salvaging guys are complaining, well, they don't need it because they just got done making a bunch of bank. That's fine. You can think that, but the salvaging gameplay at this point then will then cut into your gameplay. So when you like get logged off, like the vultures and stuff are probably going to break your ship down now because they'll be looking for anywhere they can get a ship. So if you like get DC'd or if you're just stepping away for a minute, I mean, don't be surprised if you come back and your ship's been like crunched, right? Like it's just, I think it's just the way it's going to be. I'm not saying that people should do that, but I'm just saying it's not impossible. Did I even? I don't think I did. I need to go back and actually munch that part. I don't think I munched it. I was too busy talking and being on autopilot. Oh, I want to move this box. That's totally what I was doing down here, not because I totally forgot to munch that. I wanted to move this box first and use the rest of the salvage. Yeah, let's cut it here. But thank y'all for watching, and I appreciate y'all taking the time and listening to me talk about salvage a bit. I think we probably have another video about this later on, and maybe I would be interested to see you guys' comments so we can discuss it further. I guess it kind of goes back to like the Discord and stuff. People want me to build it up. I have never administered a Discord, so it's something I would need to do some research on. I did go to make a Twitter account because it'd be interesting to get some like more robust feedback. That way I can have better videos around like just having your guys' thoughts as well as my own, so I'm not just like talking out of my butt. But yeah, it'd be cool to potentially get Discord going. I said I need to figure out how to administer. I mean, obviously the basics of it I can figure out how to administrate Discord. It's not like it's probably rocket science, but I do want to make it properly locked down and set up in a way that's conducive to like being good. Like you don't want to just, it's kind of like you don't, I mean, my videos aren't like the highest of quality, but I'm not just trying to throw stuff out here as much as I can. It may seem like it in some regards, and some of it's not as thought as I'd like it to be, but, and it goes different paths, kind of like I'm doing now. But just being honest here, that I would like to, it'd be cool. I would like to put more time into the community. But time for me, I know I've been putting a lot of videos out, so it makes it seem like I have tons of time, but I do have full-time life outside of this, so time is hard to parse out appropriately. So putting the Discord together will be a fair amount of time as well to put into the community, making sure I'm monitoring what's going on there. Just like the comments, I like to monitor the comments and put comments back. Like I would want that for somebody else that is doing YouTube, so I would expect that kind of for myself, that same standard if I can do it, right? It's obviously as channels grow, it could be hard. I get a lot of notifications, so I like to try to give thumbs up and appreciate people for leaving comments, but in some regards sometimes I miss things, and notification system sometimes just is not great with YouTube, so sometimes I even have emails on, so I can try to make sure I capture them all. But I appreciate you guys that leave comments, so I can try to give comments back. But I guess that's the other thing with Discord, right? That kind of will take comments away from YouTube videos because people will then comment in the Discord, and that kind of gets away from driving comments here, which is another good way to kind of keep things going. So that's where Discord is a little bit of a con as well. It's good and bad because at least I can get more feedback from y'all, but at the same time, it does drive comments to that area instead of being on the channel. So I know that sounds terrible, but there is a thought process behind it. Channels do need to kind of build and grow to a certain point to get enough people for it to be interesting and grow the community. And the better way to do that is through YouTube, that will have algorithms to push out the content and grow it that way, instead of just me having a Discord that people will sometimes see when they look at my video. Again, I do want to get that to that point. I just don't know if I'm at that point yet. And again, I need to do more research on it. So that was a little off topic at the end there, and I appreciate you got to stay behind to listen to that, but I will catch you guys later. Peace.